Welcome to the new stuff training for feature 14583, BGP gateway enhancements for Flow Virtual Networking. In Flow Virtual Networking, we utilize the BGP protocol to dynamically advertise and receive routing information with external network infrastructure. Up until this release, Flow Virtual Networking had the core BGP functionality, but was missing some of the features that the largest enterprises relied on. In this release, there are 3 new BGP enhancements for Flow Virtual Networking, adding support for some of the advanced BGP attributes our customers have asked for. These features provide more control and flexibility to how VPC networks are advertised using BGP, ultimately enabling customers to integrate BGP into more complex network architectures that are often found in enterprise multi-cluster environments and in use cases like disaster recovery. Let's look at each of these features in a little bit more detail. The first enhancement we will look at is advertised route filtering, also known as externally routable prefix filtering. In past releases, when BGP was deployed, all externally routable prefixes, or ERPs, from a VPC would be advertised to the upstream BGP neighbors. All ERPs were advertised with all of the same characteristics. With the new advertised route filtering, users can define which externally routable prefixes from each VPC are advertised to specific BGP peers, ultimately allowing precise control over the traffic entry points. This enables customers scenarios where some VPC subnets are reachable only from within the VPC, while others are exposed to the public-facing uplinks, all reachable from a single VPC. This helps prevent unintentional exposures of sensitive or internal subnets by ensuring only designated ERPs or networks are advertised to the external peers. Another feature introduced in this release is the ability to advertise BGP community values in our outbound ERP route advertisements. BGP communities are tags that get attached to advertised routes, allowing the receiving peer or infrastructure routers to apply routing policies based on the value of the tags they've received. These policies could be used for a lot of different scenarios, like directing traffic to a specific VRF, or how routes are redistributed across the infrastructure network. They can also be used as a method to identify routes coming from specific environments. In this release, BGP communities are only for outbound route advertisements. We ignore and don't take any action on received BGP communities. BGP communities are configurable per BGP session. And last but not least, we introduced the ability to use AS path prepending in our outbound externally routable prefix advertisements. Within the BGP protocol, AS path length is part of the BGP path selection evaluation. The path with the shortest AS path is often the best path and gets installed into the router's routing table. With AS path prepending, we can influence routing by artificially increasing the length of an AS path. This is done by adding your autonomous system number, your ASN, multiple times to the beginning of the AS path attribute. Because this increases the AS path length, this route would be less preferred. This can be used to help steer inbound traffic to a VPC-based externally routable prefix through specific networks, routers, or ports. This is also very useful for active backup deployments across availability zones. Your VPCs in the primary AZ can advertise their networks without AS path prepending, making them the preferred path for the externally routable prefixes. The DR AZ would also advertise these ERPs to the infrastructure, but will use AS path prepending for the network advertisements, making the paths from the DR availability zone less preferred. If there was a failure of the primary AZ causing the preferred path to be removed from the routing table, the secondary path via AZ2 would become the preferred path. This would allow traffic to continue to flow into the environment without any routing intervention or changes. Now let's look at how we configure these features. New individual fields for customizing advertised ERP selection, AS path prepending, and BGP community advertisements have been added to the BGP session configuration page. It's important to note these new features are configurable per BGP session. This really gives us a lot of flexibility. And when you're advertising BGP communities, note that we can advertise up to 20 BGP community values per session. But wait, there's more. With all the great features we've just talked about, we've also increased our ERP scale limits for Flow Virtual Networking. We've made a 10x improvement in the supported number of ERPs per VPC. In the previous version, the number of supported externally routable prefixes we could scale to per VPC was 10. With this release, we can now scale to 100 ERPs per VPC. This should really help enterprise customers as they adopt and scale with Flow Virtual Networking. As always, consult the configurations maximum page on the portal whenever you're planning out VPC deployments. These BGP enhancements require AOS 7.3 and Prism Central version 7.3. The Flow Virtual Networking Network Gateway version must be a minimum of 7.0. From a licensing perspective, these features are included in NCI Pro. This feature works with the AHV hypervisor on all on-premise hardware platforms. Thank you for watching the new stuff training for the BGP gateway enhancements.